Publicity stunt or Nobel Peace Prize? A deal-making commander-in-chief claims he's removed the threat of nuclear holocaust on the Korean peninsula. Here at home, the special prosecutor pushes two of the president's men closer to prison. Will Cohen and Manafort bargain for better deals and flip on the leader they once served? On the border, zero tolerance for undocumented asylum seekers continues to break thousands of families apart. As camps fill with kids separated from their parents, is America's policy appropriate or cruel and unusual? Here at home, a new hurricane season has community leaders taking a hard look at the last. 9 months after Harvey, are folks in Houston's hardest hit neighborhoods any less vulnerable to the next vicious storm? I'm Greg Grugan, and welcome to What's Your Point, where our panelists call it like they see it. Let's greet them. Starting us off, Republican strategist Jessica Colon. Next up, progressive commentator and attorney Nyanza Moore. In the 3 spot, Bob Price, associate editor of Breitbart Texas. Batting cleanup, Marcus Davis, radio host of Sunday Morning Live. Next up, businessman, columnist, and former Kemah mayor Bill King. And closing us out on the hot corner, Chicano activist and educator Tony Diaz. Let's do this. There is no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea. So proclaimed the president following his groundbreaking summit with North Korea's outlaw leader. Supporters hailed the détente in Singapore as the first step in establishing peace on the Korean peninsula without the threat of nuclear obliteration. But critics say Kim Jong Un is a certified mass murderer, has actually committed to nothing, and is not to be trusted.
After all the pomp and circumstance have faded, it seems clear that Chairman Kim walked away the victor, unfortunately.
This is a country that's made promises before and has broken them. And we're not talking about promises here regarding, minor items. These are nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles that have the capability of reaching the United States.
Panel, is this deal real or just theater, Trump style? I'm starting with Bob Price.
Well, I think the president maybe should have inserted the word imminent nuclear threat in his statement. We don't need to put up a mission accomplished banner at this point in time. So that said, I think it was a historic moment, and despite all of the things that you want to say about Kim Jong Un, sorry.
He is ill, though.
Mentally ill. The fact is, if you're going to settle the nuclear issue, you're going to have to deal with him. And all of this stuff that, we can't deal with him because he's a mass murderer, he's the guy that owns the nukes. So you've got to deal with him. I think it's a great first step. We haven't given up anything, really. The only thing that we gave up was a temporary cessation of the training exercises that we do there, which is going to save the American taxpayers some money. That's great. We didn't send him hundreds of billions of dollars in cash in the middle of the night and unmarked bills and all that kind of stuff. We got our hostages back. We've gotten a stop. We've gotten destruction of the nuclear materials. And most importantly, just before the summit, he fired his 3 top generals who were sputtering all the anti-American rhetoric and ramping things up that got the meeting canceled in the first place. I think there's real progress here.
Okay, by a narrow margin, Tony is the top Trump critic on the panel. What do you think of this?
I did not sleep better. In fact, I lost more sleep because we've gained exactly 0. The war was over. The armistice was in place for decades. I guess Donald Trump has finally caught up to Dennis Rodman, because then he too has finally met with the North Korean leader. On top of it, here's the scary part. They signed a bunch of papers. Unfortunately, the U.S. signed we signed all sorts of treaties with Canada and Mexico that we've broken. We said we'd be in the Paris Accords. We've broken that. We told Canada we're their friends. We've pushed them to the side. So you can't trust Trump under, what he says. Here's the worst part. According to that paper they signed with Kim Jong Un, he says he's going to get rid of his nuclear bombs. What does that mean exactly? Because according to reports, he still has 60 nuclear bombs. Does getting rid of them mean he's going to unload 60 nuclear bombs on 60 different cities? So we've gained nothing, and worse, this is just a big PR stunt.
Okay, I'm going to go to my unaligned folk. First Marcus, then Bill, then we'll stop.
I want to first say
congratulations or thank you to President Trump for following through on President Obama's plan.
Absolutely.
Great job at following through
Way
on
to
what
go.
President Obama
Way to follow the leader.
said that he would do in his campaign, which was to go and meet with the leaders of our enemies. And that, in fact, he was criticized by the GOP, by Fox News, and everybody else that this was a terrible idea. How dare he decide to go cozy up and be buddy-buddy, friendly with our enemies. And look, lo and behold, we have the great GOP who did the exact same thing. Now, I am in dismay because I'm bothered by the amount of Americans who were hoping that Donald Trump would fail. As big of a piece of turd as he is, I did not hope that he failed because I'm an American citizen. I hoped that he had success. And we've got to realize that we're in a dangerous point when we hope that our leader fails. Lastly, I got to say the nuclear threat to America is not gone because it exists at 1600 Pennsylvania and in the Capitol with our Congress.
Real quick, Bill.
So I thought it was interesting to compare what we did with Cuba and what we did with North Korea. In both cases, we've had a long-standing policy that basically we weren't going to do anything, we weren't going to talk to them until they changed the way they acted. And Obama decided he was going to take the first step to Cuba, and Trump decided he was going to make the first step to North Korea. You know, I applaud both of them because obviously what we were doing was not working. What I am distressed, what Marcus alluded to, is that the partisan rhetoric. I mean, all the Republicans jump on Obama for going to Cuba, and all the Democrats jump on Trump for going to Korea. It's just a completely partisan argument, but I think it was the right thing to do in both cases.
Okay, I'm going to go to Jessica, and then we're coming back to you in a second.
Yeah, you know, the whole time I've been saying I'm not going to question our foreign policy experts on how they're going to proceed. And thus far, we are on the right path. How we're dealing with North Korea has been successful. We have an excellent first step, and we are going to see how successful it's going to be in the future. We're taking this step by step, and we are on the right track to peace.
Okay. Meantime, here at home, there were multiple reports Trump's longtime fixer Michael Cohen is preparing for criminal indictment and signaling his willingness to cooperate with federal prosecutors investigating the president. Almost simultaneously, indicted Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort was jailed for alleged witness tampering and has become another prime candidate for the flip list. Capping it all was release of a much-anticipated Justice Department Inspector General's report, which found evidence of significant political bias against the president in the FBI, but no evidence former Director Jim Comey improperly cleared Hillary Clinton from criminal prosecution over her use of a private email server containing classified material. Panel, what do you make of the latest round of developments? I saved this for Nyanza because...
Okay, you have three different topics in there. You have Paul Manafort, you have the IG report, as well as you have Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, good job. Go ahead and make a deal with Mueller because you already know as a lawyer what you're facing. You don't want to get disbarred. You really don't want to go to prison. But at the same time, you can tell that Trump said he doesn't really know you that well, so there's no reason to stay loyal to him. On the Paul Manafort, well, Paul Manafort is treasonous and he's a traitor anyway. So the issue is this now becomes, because he did those deals with a Russian who was going to get indicted as well, but decided to stay in Russia and fight the extradition because he has the help of Putin, who doesn't want to bring him back to this country to go ahead and say what he did. Now we have Manafort, who's been left out there all alone, but he has been spending a cozy night in jail. They did release a video of him going in the white van. It's not like the black Mercedes that he usually travels in. But one thing I have to say, with Paul Manafort, he understands, I believe he's 61 years old. If he has a 30-year sentence, he probably won't make it that long, but at the same time, what he has done is probably so bad that he'd rather go to prison and take whatever chance he can in the shower versus going ahead with Mueller. On the last issue of the IG report, the Inspector General's report did not exonerate the Trumps and the Trump campaign. And even though we have Rudy Giuliani going out there lip speaking when he should be doing Saturday Night Live, we need to focus on the fact that this does not get Trump out of the water. And no matter how many times the GOP likes to stand up and say, okay, this exonerates us, it doesn't, because guess what? When your lawyer's going to go ahead and make a deal, Mr. President, all bets are off.
Woo! Bob,
there you go.
I suspect you see things differently.
Yeah, a lot of stuff there. That's very interesting.
It was three topics.
On Manafort, I don't understand why he's being put in jail. You put people in jail, you revoke their bond when they are a flight risk or when they're a threat to the community, not as punishment. The courts specifically say you can't use bond revocation as punishment.
But he's a flight risk. She established that.
He's
the
not
judge did.
Go ahead.
I'm sure they're probably going to appeal
about
that.
20 seconds.
All right, so on the issue of the IG report, I think that both sides are very unhappy with that, which is kind of an interesting statement on it. It didn't exonerate them, and it didn't exonerate the left either. It did clearly indicate a culture of political bias at the top levels of the Department of Justice and in the FBI.